What was it like joining the team? Obviously, it was new for you this season, and obviously everyone's quite friendly, and it seems like you get along on the set. What was it like kind of joining this close-knit group? Was it tough?
No, it wasn't at all, really. Like, everyone was... I was eased into it.
He was ostracised for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, they had me doing all sorts, and I mean, Ian's kind of taken me under his wing a bit, and I'm working on the rest of him, aren't I? But, no, it was...
It sounds like no one likes you.
No, it was... I was kind of eased into it. I sort of did a little bit of filming with, I think, Chloe first, and then, like, I think Clark, and then gradually everyone's at Comic-Con my first weekend, but it was kind of a nuts first day because I was shooting here in London on the Thursday, wrapped on that, went to bed, got up in the morning, got on a plane, flew to LA, got picked up, taken to set, and was into costume and makeup. And I was like, I remember I said to him, can I just like get a shower? You know, just got off a flight. I was like, can I just grab a shower and just freshen up? And they were like, well, we kind of need you. And I was just straight onto set, like, to start shooting. So, no, but I was very, very fortunate that everyone's so kind of chilled and fun and friendly and everything, yeah.
With the Marvel movie franchises being such these huge critical and commercial successes, do you guys feel like an added pressure to really knock it out of the park with the TV show?
I think you kind of get in a little bubble, don't you, when you're shooting it? You kind of end up forgetting, well, I don't know, I do. Like, you just sort of forget about the rest of it, and because things happen so quickly, like, it's really fast paced. We're getting scripts, you know, almost every week, and you know, there's so much to shoot. We shoot an episode in 8 days, so there's no real time to kind of worry about the rest of it, is there?
Yeah.
You know, it's only when you do stuff like this that you realise that people watch it. You know, you're just like, oh yeah, that people actually see what we're doing at work.
If you could have your character appear in any other Marvel cinematic film, which would it be?
Hunter the movie.
I actually want to be in Hunter the movie too.
It's funny you say that, actually, because there was talks about you having a possible spin-off. Obviously that hasn't went forward. Do you know why, or what happened with that?
I think it's one of those Marvel things where there's kind of, you know, rumours get put out there, and I don't think anything was ever kind of bolted on for it, but I don't know whether the idea has completely gone away or what at the moment, so it's kind of, you know, who knows, you know what Marvel are like.
So that next time, Adam.
Yeah. It basically the series got ditched because we got the movie franchise coming out. So, yeah, and we had to get rid of the dead weight like Bobby and stuff. Oh. So yeah. Oh no, you're in. You're in.
You've had some amazing guest stars this season. Who's been your favourite person to work with?
Kyle MacLachlan was really cool.
Oh, he's wicked. Yeah.
He's yeah, and I think most people were big fans of that stuff he's done before. So to see someone like that come in and really care about it and stuff, and really commit to like a pretty crazy character, like, that was a really cool experience for me anyway.
Yeah, he's really fun. Like, even in like the read-throughs and stuff, I always enjoy it when he's there.
In terms of the second season, it's been kind of more action-packed in terms of fast-paced, and it's been very kind of in-your-face in comparison to the first one. We had more sort of slow pace and build. How do you guys find kind of adjusting to that? Because it must be like a lot of pressure kind of getting into these rather intense stories that leads up to like movies such as Age of Ultron, for instance.
There's two. I mean, I think in terms of season, I think in season 2, I think, or specifically like kind of the end of season 1, I think the show really started to begin to find its feet. I think at the start it was kind of, there was so much happening and things that it was all a bit crazy, and then I think now in season 2 it kind of found its voice a lot more, I think. But also at the same time we find out week to week what's happening as well, so it's kind of it's like we tune in every week to get a script, and you know, we're kind of excited to see what happens. So you don't tend to think too far ahead, really, which is a good and bad thing, I think.
There's been some new additions to the cast that really elevated it as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's Adrian, Henry. There's been a few people.
I mean, obviously, there's a great chemistry between the whole cast, but Ian, I mean, particularly between you and Natasha, I think Fitz Simmons is such a beautiful pairing. Can you talk a little bit about particularly that relationship?
She'll kill me if I don't tell you her name's Elizabeth. But yeah, no, it's fine. Because I was thinking, who's Natasha?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, she's great. She's the best. I mean, everyone's Elizabeth's best friend. She's one of the nicest people in the world, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's fickle.
Yeah. Everyone's her best friend.
Yeah, actually.
No,
yeah.
She's just so
She's
lovely. Yeah.
Manipulator. No, she's cool, and a lot of that, you know, to be honest, is probably within the writing and stuff. that's kind of been a kind of early thing which they always did, that kind of relationship between the two of them. And it's nice because this season they've taken it in quite a few different directions, which has been cool. So it's actually changed a lot, and they've both grown up a lot, I think, separately, which has been good.
I think it's a really nice one for the fans because it's kind of you've got a lot of those kind of the love
Well,
stories.
someone like
in
you is
those.
a very unattainable thing. Because, I mean, look at them. You know what I mean? Whereas this is more attainable. People can relate to this more.
No, what I was going to say is that, like, you know, in a lot of the kind of the superhero world, it's like very heroic characters and people with superpowers that kind of dominate those love stories. And then it's really nice having one where it's like, these are the scientist guys who kind of do the jobs that, you know, people can relate to and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
also,
really,
you know,
really nice
in that
relationship.
kind of world, well, anyway, I think Elizabeth's character, Simmons, definitely wears the trousers in their relationship. Fitz is definitely much more of a girl than she is, I think. That's the...
So how much input do you get into the scripts and your characters?
I mean, I think they like us. They like us to kind of like be collaborative and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they kind of write for the actors as well. Like, you know, you realise, I've definitely felt that after the first sort of few episodes, you can start to kind of see how they're taking things that they've seen you do on set and kind of using that and expanding it and so on. And I mean, I've not had the, you know, this is going to be my second season that we're coming up to, and there's conversations that you have with the showrunners and so on. So I've kind of not gone through that, but obviously Iain has, and I think that's an opportunity to get some input as well. Yeah,
It was quite a departure for your character in terms of, you know, he had brain damage and, you know, what sort of, well, did you do any sort of research for the character?
Yeah, we did, yeah. I mean, first off, it was the writers and stuff and the showrunners did a lot of research into that kind of stuff. And they kind of told me their idea for the whole thing, and then I kind of went away and did my own. So it was, it was a collaboration in that sense, but I think we were always just very aware that it's a very real thing that's happened to a lot of people in a very real way, so we just wanted to kind of make sure we were respectful to it, because there's a certain responsibility, I think, involved with it, that you just kind of, that you show that you do it respectfully. So yeah, but actually a lot of the work was done for me by the writers and stuff, yeah, I have to say.
Obviously, the events of Captain America Winter Soldier had huge knock-on effects for your show. Do you guys ever hear kind of rumblings in advance of, like, something's going to happen and start to wonder whether or not your character's going to be dramatically changed in forthcoming episodes?
Well, no, we don't hear too much. I mean, look, there was that thing, like, Clark will often come up and, like, be like, oh, I'm really sorry about, you know, what's happening with you, and you'd be like, what? What's happening? And he'll just be winding you up. So, like, you do kind of hear rumblings of stuff, but like things if it's something, but like with Captain America, I think they showed us a screening, like an unfinished version of the film, just so we kind of knew the story, because we were starting to film episodes which related to it, just so we kind of knew what was going on. So if it's something really big like that, they usually tell you a little bit in advance, right?
Yeah, but they keep
Still
it very
very
tight. But they wouldn't let you, you know, they make sure you know what you need to know. It's on a need-to-know basis.
Yeah.
Talking about moving forward, what would you like to see happening for your characters moving into season 3? If you could have anything go ahead for Hunter and Fitz and Simmons.
I'd like Hunter to get a disability that means he's in a wheelchair, so I just get to sit down.
Iain, what was it like for you going from like a BBC show to a big, massive American studio?
It was. Do you know what? Apart from, I suppose that is just the only difference really, is the money, like, versus Britain to America. Really, though, to be crude about it, but in terms of what I do, it's the exact same thing. I mean, you learn your lines and you work on your character and you go in and you try and do the best you can, really. And when you're in front of the camera, and that for me doesn't change. But yeah, the background, I suppose, does change.
It's just more food on set.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah,
Catering's better.
yeah, catering. Yeah, catering's
Can you
better.
talk about the move from Britain to America? We've seen so many UK actors obviously going over to the Marvel franchises. Charlie Cox, we had Martin Freeman signing up as well, Benedict Cumberbatch. What do you think it is about the UK actors that's like getting Marvel to bring them in?
It's better looking, aren't they? I don't know, really. I don't know what it is. I think they like an international feel to it, and obviously we've got the advantage that we share the same language. I think and I know that's definitely something in our show that they're conscious of, because when I auditioned for the part, it wasn't specific whether he was American or where he was from. They were open to it, and they were at one point, I think there was talk that, you know, he was going to be American, and then they said, no, we want you to use your own accent. So I think up until, probably a couple of weeks before filming, it was still up in the air whether I was going to be playing him American or not. Because originally, I don't think he was going to be Lance Hunter necessarily. He was, because obviously he's got a history in the comic book world. But yeah, I don't know really. I mean, I think there's this. I don't know whether the Americans just think that the British are a bit more refined and a bit more kind of like, cultured in their theatrical arts. So I'm quite happy for them to believe that, and keep employing us. Yeah.
Obviously, it's nice seeing the movies being referenced in the show, but how do you feel when you watch the movies and you see the show being referenced the other way around? Because, unless I'm very much mistaken, when Nick Fury cuts his way out of the bottom of the car in Winter Soldier, that's an invention that on the show was established that Fitz invented. I think
You're welcome, Nick Fury.
When I watched the latest Avengers film, there's that massive ship thing. I was just like, why don't we get to play with that? That's ours, isn't it?
Did you guys ever have any ambitions to do a show like this? I mean, obviously the Marvel kind of universe has been growing and growing and growing all the way since Iron Man. Did you think though years ago that I could end up on one of these movies? Or
Nick said a really good thing to me recently, where he was like, "Well, you say."
Well, we were just talking about you can quite often when you're doing any sort of job, like we all know, it's like you get kind of lost in it and you forget that moment when you first got it and you were really excited and all this sort of stuff, and you get used to it. You kind of have to guard against taking it for granted. And we were talking about it and just saying, if your 10-year-old self could see you and you're in this big Marvel series and so on, you just the excitement that kid would have, and you just remind yourself of that, and I feel very fortunate.
Guys, is there anything? Hi, sorry. Is there anything like for basically new? So I'm stumbling. For those who want to get into acting and who've sort of just got their first step, and they want to sort of make that move abroad. Is there any advice?
You're going to give me your CV now?
There you go.
I just got some headshots. Sorry. So,
is there any advice you can give to them, or how hard is it, from that step from to move into Marvel, basically? Because Marvel is a really big deal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think what I would say is don't make a specific thing your aim, like something like saying, I want to be in a Marvel thing. It's like I think that you need to fall in love with acting before you think about the jobs that you might get or the scale of them and so on. And I'd just say you've got to be really determined, you've got to work hard, be nice to people, and also I think find happiness outside of it. I think that quite often, a lot of people I know, I'm sure lots of people, that their whole aim is to be a success at acting, and we know that we've been fortunate with the right things come along at the right time, and some people don't have that fortune, and you've got to find satisfaction outside of it. It's quite a serious answer.
I can just solve the world with that. I was going to cry. I think as well, sounds like a contrived, but I think for me, anyway, the biggest thing is just working hard, making sure you can, at the end of every day, just go, did I do everything I could, to work on that thing, I think.
Also, on a more happier note, have you guys ever prank called anyone or pranked anyone with your characters in real life and stuff?
No, I almost gave out his phone number.
We were doing a live on air charity thing, and we said
we
said if we raise a certain amount of money, I'll just give out my phone number. And I think I gave out 7 digits or something of it. And he goes, have to believe, he goes, I'm just going to the toilet. And suddenly I get this call from this person being like, oh, hi, is this Iain De Caestecker? Blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't, it was Nick, and it wasn't funny either.
I mean, talking about having fun, obviously your characters get to play with and invent some pretty fun tech. Yeah. I'm curious, what are the best toys you've got to play with?
I liked when they gave me a football in one of the scenes. I was happy with that.
The drones were always pretty cool. I haven't used them in a while, actually. The strange thing is with them is when you're doing it, you'll have ones there, but then they'll CGI them out. So a lot of the time you'll just be, but you can do what you want and look around and they'll CGI them in.
Just really wind up the CGI guys by going.
Yeah. Or you can do the ones where you got a hologram table. And basically you just do this for 10 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of the time the gadgets aren't actually there. So you're just
I have to say on ours, on ours they actually do bring a lot of them in that have little lights or beeps or whatever, things that light up. They're basically just lights. Just little boxes with lights.
What do you guys think in terms of like the difference between the Marvel movies and the TV shows, for instance? Where do you think the differences lie in them? Because I find like the story and structure on the TV shows, you've got a lot more time to kind of develop characters, whereas in the films it's kind of bang in your face.
I think with the films you tend to go to a cinema. With the TV, you just kind of use your remote like that. That's the main difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hold on, I haven't finished this question. Sorry. What would you? I mean,
I think yeah. I mean, there's obviously a thing with the scale of it. I think is one, but you're right. I think something like Daredevil was a really good example of how something like a TV series can be more involving than a film, because they stretched it out and showed backstories in a very cool way, I thought.
You got you to see a lot more like Wilson Fisk, for instance.
Yeah, but it was actually quite, the story of it, the actual story actually could have lasted the length of a 2-hour movie, but with all the backstories and everything they put in, they stretched it out and made it it was more like a book or something like that.
I think I think as an audience member, so you can just get to know the characters a lot better, and I think people connect with them because, you're there every week, spending an hour or two with them.
Well, there's a cool side of it as well. It's like, it's like you get people who go back comic every week and catch up on it. I suppose there's that side too as well.
Yeah.
I think obviously in the comic book world, there's a pretty fierce rivalry between Marvel and DC, and particularly on the big screen, Marvel's been crushing it. Are you guys aware of that rivalry, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I hate them all.
Are any of them here?
I don't.
Like they're not there.
No. I mean, I've got a friend who's in a DC thing, things like that. Like, what? They're both my friends. She's.
I know.
Yeah.
Like just said a dirty word, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
No, maybe like the business guys have more of a rivalry than we do.
Yeah.
But
no, it's not something that anyone really talks about.
So you don't meet up with your friends who's in that in the DC thing
and have a little wrestle.
Honestly,
kick your ass.
Yeah.
I think Mum would. She's only little.
I think though across Marvel and DC in the last couple of years, it's fair to say we've seen kind of an explosion in the popularity of superheroes comic books again that we might have seen maybe before I was born. I can't really talk. To be really cliche, do you think it's now cooler to be involved with a superhero franchise than it would have been like 10 years ago? We've got like Ryan Phillippe, Matthew McConaughey all talking about being a Netflix series for like Marvel or DC. Do you think there's been some sort of shift that push it back to being popular again?
I think those stories they can be told in a very different way than they could 20 years ago with the advancements of technology and stuff like that. Probably is a big side.
Yeah,
of it.
when you look at like the original Batman series and they're running around in tights and they're pretty scrawny underneath it and everything, and there's pow and bang. I mean, I kind of love that because it's the style of it was so cool. But I think as an actor, you'd probably feel pretty silly, in a kind of spray on thing without all that padding and all this amazing costume and stuff, and pretending stuff's there that isn't, and fighting cardboard monsters or whatever. But now it just looks incredible. I mean, like some of the stuff in the Avengers film was insane, and we're amazed every week that what they managed to do on the show. I mean, when I got there my first day, and I was like, that was when I first realised that it was an episode every 8 days, and I was like, you're shooting. I mean, it's 40 odd minutes the show.
Yeah, something like that.
Film, so you're shooting half a movie in 8 days. I mean, if I was a movie exec, I'd be going, why are we taking 9 months to shoot this?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a major part of it. I think you're able to make them look cool, and also the popularity. People, so many people are watching them. So, as an actor, people, that's part of the decision making process, I guess.
I'm talking about actors. Obviously, you mentioned Elizabeth earlier on, but I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about the rest of the cast? Because it's a really great mix and ensemble.
Yeah, we're really lucky. Like, Clark is in some ways I think people's characters, like, mirror themselves offset.
Yeah, I think that's...
Like, Clark is definitely the leader of our group, and he sets the tone. And, I suppose the only person that's very different from their character is Ming. She's absolutely insane.
She's like a child who's had too many Smarties.
Yeah, too many sweeties every morning.
Yeah.
Or like 6 cans of Diet Coke as she gets out of bed. I think that's what she does, or Red Bull.
Yeah.
She's
mainline
nuts.
in Red Bull.
But she's in the best way.
Can you give us an example to elaborate on how nuts she is? I mean, in what way is she nuts? What does she do?
She'll dance. She doesn't stop that. She dances more than she doesn't dance.
Yeah.
She loves her innuendos.
Loves her innuendos.
Loves
yeah,
them.
anything.
And
like-
she laughs more than she doesn't laugh.
Yeah.
During the day, it's hard to get through a scene with her. Basically. Luckily, I'm not in that many scenes with her.
What's your favourite moment on the show, personally, to you guys, on Agent Shield?
Moment I met Nick.
Yeah, it wasn't the moment I met Ian. But
No, I knew that.
No, it took a while. You were a slow burner. No, it's the moment I met Ian. No, so honestly, it was, I really enjoyed when I did my stuff with Adrian. When I got kidnapped and I got yanked out the back of a car and dumped in the field, and then in a helicopter. And I wasn't actually meant to. We shot the scenes where we're talking in the helicopter, just on the ground, you know, and anything you can see out the windows is obviously CGI. But they had to get the shot of the helicopter taking off and going through the mountains, and there was no intention for us to be in there for it. They were just going to do that for me, and I was like, I'm getting in that helicopter. And it was amazing. It was it's really fun working with Adrian. He's so on it and really funny and a really nice guy, but also bombing through. The guy who did the helicopter stuff is the guy who does Michael Bay's stuff. So he's incredible. He's like the top guy, and we were just going through the mountains in we're near the Disney Ranch, but it's at Anaheim.
I didn't know about this.
I don't know. Anyway, like, you know, bombing through them when you're doing that, and it was incredible. It was so. And I don't think that they'd even announced that I was in the show at that point, so I couldn't tell anyone. I had this video on my phone, just itching to show people. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really like the relationship in the show as well. We were talking about other actors, and I really like also the relationship between Fitz and Mack. And I was wondering if you talk about it, because he was one of the first to actually speak to Fitz like properly and stop treating him like it was he had a problem or something. Yeah. And I really like how you brought it forward in the show, and it was a really interesting thing. And then second half of season 2, everything goes to hell, and then suddenly they're not friends anymore. Yeah. So I was wondering how it was to work with Henry and how you approach that relationship as well.
Oh, Henry's great.
Yeah.
He's just
He's
such a
really
nice man.
lovely,
He's a big gentle giant, and he was great coming in as well. And yeah, I think it's just exactly what you said in terms of the characters. Everyone else knew Fitz before his injury, so treated him very differently, which was the last thing he wanted. Whereas, you know, Mac took him for face value. He didn't know him any different. That was the person he knew, and I think he appreciated that. Didn't kind of mollycoddle him or anything like that.
I think it's a good example of the way the writers writing for that collaboration as well, because you know, they've obviously seen in Henry himself, he's got that complete open-mindedness, doesn't he, and kind of accepting of anyone. And I think that was probably an influence on that relationship.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, I mean, his biceps are bigger than my head.
His
side
pecs,
point.
I'm like, they look like fake boobs. They're so big. I'm like, if they weren't so rock hard, you'd need a bra for them because they're massive. They're
And
the size of my face.
He can move them to like a song, like
We went out for dinner just before we came back to the UK, and I did sort of think it must look really weird. This like 6'6" dude who's absolutely massive, and then us two kind of like out to dinner with him looking like his kids or something.
We always laugh because there's one thing he says, like if you say something that's like, and he's surprised about it, he'll just look away and go, "Holy mackerel!"
Yeah, it's just the best. Oh my gosh! It's amazing.
He's great. He's brilliant.
He actually said the other day as well. He went, "Holy cow!" And I was like, I didn't actually realise real people said that. I was just in comics.